Thanks everybody for coming out on like day 4, 5 of this week, something like that.
I can't keep track anymore.
I'm glad we could jump in. Okay, so this is like Reimagining Media Onchain. Everyone that we have here on stage is doing some pretty major things in this space. Kind of excited to be able to bring everyone together. I think it's a strong group. But yeah, hoping to open with Steph and FWB. So your recent role as I believe the first CMO of FWB ever, right off the heels of, It's also something of a homecoming for Steph here at a C Club event. Everything's coming around. But yeah, I'd love to hear about how you guys are looking at things heading over coming months. What does it mean for FWB to have a CMO and all that kind of thing? And I suppose evolutions of the community where it sits like now this year, coming from like its earlier origins and stuff.
Hell yeah. What's up, everyone? This is a very dangerous quadrant right here, so I'm just gonna avoid all eye contact in that direction. See, this is what I'm fucking talking about. So it's really crazy. It's really crazy to be CMO of FWB, like insane. I mean, I don't know if I retweeted this recently, but I back in December 2021, I tweeted like the cringiest, like most yearny tweet that was like, I just bought one FWB so I could read TLDR, and it was like $80. It's like, yeah, so that's my origin for FWB. No one's laughing at that. Like that's like a funny story.
What about the goat farming though?
Yeah,
the goat farming is the real origin.
The goat farming? Oh my God, no, we're not going there. But like, what does this mean for FWB? Like, I think that the point of that story is that like it's less about me and more about the evolution of FWB, right? That like that there is this deep, strong community that has made the brand into what it is today. I mean, like, shout out Rayhan, who's just like handling alcohol at the front row. Yeah, sure. That like it started as a community-driven brand, and now it's 3-4 years in. And what does it look like to take a brand that was born during the bear market, where followers and funding were really easy to come by, not to deny the power or the sort of value of those brands that came up during that time, but more like, okay, now we've gone through a couple cycles. What does it look like to continue to persist that brand in a way that both honors its origins, but then also is like continuing to mature and figure out how to be revenue positive and how to like feed multiple types of audience archetypes as the space continues to grow and more people get onboarded. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Super interesting, and we'll talk more, I suppose, about how FWB is thinking about like media, doing things on chain, like all this stuff that again everyone up here is like experimenting with. I'd like to throw to Cheryl and C Club and everything. We've been having conversations this week already about all the stuff you guys are doing with Enjoy and all this stuff. I suppose, bouncing ideas off from Peace Node and his like penchant for random things. But I'd love to hear about like how you're thinking about it and kind of what's happening with like the C Club media.
Yeah, I think I'm also like chief deputy of random things. So that me and Peace are very aligned in that. But yeah, I work on media, marketing, events, partnerships at C Club, and we're doing a lot with on-chain media across a lot of our different media initiatives, whether that's Internet Explorers, whether that's just a commemorative fun mints around big campaigns that we do, whether that's SEO7, random moments like Enjoy is halving, just doing a lot of experimentation as well with Enjoy each week, kind of testing out new dynamics around tipping or leaderboards or minting things on chain on pods and Zora, and just learning a lot along the way about what works, what doesn't, and things that sometimes don't work a few weeks later as meta is constantly shifting very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a good and interesting point. And like one of many outlets that are now like minting media on chain on a regular basis and kind of messing about with it. And yeah, I think the way that like Enjoy itself emerged, it was almost like Farcaster first, like emerging from there with the channel and kind of coming out with sort of a new and novel way of doing it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so much about the way it's being distributed or engaged with, minted and stuff. And or I suppose something like with Enjoy as well, more so Seed Club in the past, it was less that everyone was going to make Seed Club memes or kind of propagate that thing, but now with Enjoy, they can do that and are doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Did I just turn this off? I don't know. It's interesting because I think most people don't know that Seed Club is affiliated with Enjoy. At least,
sorry.
no, it's you didn't dox us. Like, just dox. But it has been like we don't lead with that. We don't lead, but now we are, I guess. No, as of right now, thank you.
Okay, moving on. We also have Colin from Paragraph here as well. As we all probably know, it's been monumentous week for Paragraph and all things. Maybe I'd like to throw to you and kind of maybe you can like share your news for anyone tuning in or who hasn't heard like the major updates for Paragraph.
Yeah. So definitely been a eventful week for us. So we, as of a couple of days ago, we're very excited to announce that we've taken ownership of the Mirror product. And we've also raised $5 million, led by USV with participation from Coinbase Ventures.
Woo!
So, I mean, I think it's been an absolute journey, obviously, to get where we are today. I think we were very much the underdog pretty early on, but I think, I had very high conviction in what we were building, tapping into the Farcaster social graph for increased distribution, building on top of permissionless protocols like Arweave, providing very easy on-ramps for folks that potentially wanted to migrate from Substack, import their subscriber lists, but start actually taking advantage of some of the benefits of composability, of on-chain permissionless distribution and incentivization ultimately to grow even quicker. I think we very quickly also solidified ourselves as the go-to long-form content platform on Farcaster, which I mean I think I was my FID is like 378 or something. I was pretty early on, and then we launched countless integrations very early on before all of this existed. So I mean it's just been phenomenal to see the growth of not only the Farcaster network, but having our kind of riding the coattails of Farcaster and ultimately benefiting the creators of Paragraph. Because ultimately, I think the increased network, benefits the growth of the subscribers, benefits the readers, additional distribution, additional discovery overall. So I'm absolutely thrilled, I think, to be in the position we are today and extremely fortunate.
Yeah, so as you know, like I'm a huge fan and user of Paragraph, and we've known each other for a while. But I think like something that's been interesting to observe is like, as you say, like building all these integrations into Farcaster would have been like pretty dynamite at times, like helping people to capture subscribers really quickly, people being able to read things like in frame or all this kind of thing. But now, now with this news of the sort of combination of joining forces with Mirror and everything, interesting to think about, like, what does that mean for people who've been like publishing on Mirror for years or they've been on Paragraph or whatever it is, like maybe it's not all known, maybe it's too early to ask you this, but like what does the future of that vision kind of look like?
Yeah, so in the near term, nothing's going to change across both products. I'd like to spend a lot of time over the next several months chatting with creators on each platform. I do think both platforms have their strengths and weaknesses. So ultimately really getting a good understanding of what those strengths and weaknesses are, what features do people love on each platform, and using those kind of conversations to inform what a single great place for on-chain publishing might look like after that.
Yeah, it's like publishing with all the kind of on-chain and Zora things baked in and many other things, Farcaster integrations and everything. Throwing to Grace now as well, unbelievably. We also have Only up here on the stage, which is kind of like a whole different format and category of media, of course, which at times seems it's almost like independent TV shows or internet streaming shows and stuff like that. I'd love to ask you about, I guess, what would the imaginings for Unlonely, like heading out? Why were you looking to build like live streaming and sort of on-chain ecosystem and maybe some of like the hit shows that you've had that have kind of having these moments of like breaking out of crypto, reaching an audience like beyond our little crew?
Yeah, happy to share a little bit more. Unlonely is live streaming on chain. We are incredibly bullish about live stream, just like as a media format. And I think that was even coming from, I used to work at YouTube, and there was a kind of a big push of like, okay, yeah, we have video on demand, VOD is great, but actually you build your greatest engagement live with your fans when you kind of have this shared experience synchronously.
And with Unlonely and kind of on our on-chain features, we are really interested in discovering new user behaviors. And to your point about these kind of fun hit shows that we've had, Love on Leverage, if anyone has heard of that, was a really fun crypto dating show that we put on. We had our season 1 in October, where we had 10 blind match-made dates. I was the matchmaker. That was actually a really very fun job to have behind the scenes. And then we just put them in a meeting, and basically in a Zoom meeting room, and let people bet on it and see if they thought that there would be a second date in the works based on the live chemistry of these people that we match made. So that was kind of our first experiment. Then we launched a season 2 in February, Valentine's week of this year. And we launched a Vibes token, and people could just bump and dump the Vibes token to kick people off the show. We have Ben Roy in the house right now, who actually won his episode. And it's been really fun to see. that was a little lackluster. Come on, guys. Ben Roy in the house. That's my boy. And we've loved the dating because it's been exactly this, creating chaos on chain, letting people collect these memories, also letting people pump and dump a token. We actually we met Shoni in real life for the first time, who's a power user of a product, and he flipped Vibes for 15 grand, which is pretty fucking awesome. And we're looking to just kind of build on that. We have a 1v1 debate token and live streaming series coming out soon. And also Brian will be launching a FarCon token in about 20 minutes or so downstairs. So live plug for that.
This is interesting as well. It's kind of like opening up the space for, like, we're talking about on-chain media, new formats or whatever. And this is kind of speaking to, as you're saying, like, tokens are evolved in general.
Yeah.
And can be used in all kinds of novel ways. And then I guess maybe that's fun to ask Steph about, potentially, right? Like throwing back to FWB again as well. It's like, you know, you have like your background in media and creative stuff and everything. It's like this sort of a new playset of things that you can mess about with because tokens are part of it.
Yeah, I think this is, something we were just talking about at lunch, which makes it sound like very professional, but it was definitely
very professional lunch.
Yeah, very professional lunch. Just that, yeah, there's just like, you know, we can just say this take, right? That like on-chain media is a brand new distribution channel, right? It's a brand new value creation channel. But for me, the things that feel more interesting are just the experiments that we run on them, right? So again, like hearing you guys talk about Enjoy, and the way that meme coins are showing up just in general. But then there's also there's like we're just continuing to discover new and more primitives, right? like we're experimenting at FWB with putting our media on chain. We're running this aestheticized meme series that every week we'll publish a new sort of aestheticized meme. I'm not going to go into like the over-intellectualization of what an aestheticized meme is, but like you get the vibe.
No,
right?
you should.
Yeah, and if when you go and look at it, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, so we'll be minting those every single week, and just for fun, right? Like there's no like mint it if you like it. I don't know. Like, and if you don't like it, cool. Like, and maybe there's some sort of airdrop in the future. I don't really know. It's like, do you like it or not? Like, does it speak to you? Like, sick, collect it. But we'll be open sourcing that template using NFT layers on Zora's Canvas tool. Shout out, Viv. And yeah, so that feels really exciting too, right? So not only have we earned creator rewards from putting this media on chain as well, we've created, a sense of brand attachment in our various, user bases. And then on top of that, we can now open source that template using a tool like Zora's Canvas tool, and anyone can go and basically make a version of this meme. The one we just published is like a silly, like this could heal me, and it's like a 2x2. But like anyone can go in there and like whatever, put like road lip gloss and like Erewhon smoothie or something, and that's my LA vibe right now. So, so anyone can do that. And on top of that, we get rewards from anyone who uses that layer, right? So it's just, there's both like brand proliferation, and there's also these like little tiny monetization experiments. And I think so that's what I feel excited about as in on-chain media these days. I feel like it's less a sort of philosophical take and more just like, what are the fun things we can do with it?
Yeah, that checks for sure. It's like now all the options that are there to go and mint stuff, and now minting in a given meme coin or a community token like Enjoy or Crash or Hire other things into the future as well. So it kind of takes on this different kind of form. And then, yeah, curious about, as you say, like not the over-utilization or whatever of memes and so on. But now, like, yeah, I mean, like, I can kind of speak to it with what we do from like UFO stuff and like many other people who are doing the same. It's kind of like you jump in, you're like, what do we want to make today? Like, what's fun? And it's like something just happened a day ago, and then it's kind of, you know, and from chatting with Cheryl as well and other C Club people as well, it's interesting to see that. Do you know what I mean? Like this kind of, if anything, like looking back, like C Club a couple of years ago, whatever, was kind of early in various of these things as well, like producing some super quality media output and stuff like that, but also being early on some of this tokenized media kind of piece of it. But like, do you know what I mean? It's like it's quite an open space now. It's not as straightforward as like build a landing page, do a blog post, you know, have a social media strategy and blah blah blah. It's like we're in a whole different game.
Yeah, I feel like being less precious with block space and just accepting that people like tokens and that you should just mint things that you like because other people might like them too. And then adding in the surprise and delight layer of, oh, your collector collected something that we minted last January, a podcast that they enjoyed, and then now they're on an Enjoy leaderboard and earning a distribution of Enjoy tips every week. And it creates this like not only a layer of like bringing the social data across different platforms, whether that's C Club, whether that's Enjoy, Internet Explorer, someone that likes my newsletter, and then kind of uniting them as fans across all of those media entities, but then also gives you a lot of like room to experiment with that data on chain. So whether that's like launching a new product or a new mechanism for tipping with Enjoy that people might be interested in coming back and becoming a little bit more of a sticky fan for C Club in that way.
Yeah, it's funny, like from talking with a bunch of sort of media people this week or catching up with a bunch of teams, and it's felt like we've been talking about data a lot constantly, like, oh, here's this cool thing or this product or this is super useful or so on. And to whatever extent, like crypto is in this tiny microcosm within the internet or whatever. It's like it's huge space, but it's also like in the vanishing minority of like people who are doing stuff on the internet. But through various mechanics, I'd like to ask Colin about this as well. But it's like so much of the game is about, as always with media, it's about distribution, being able to reach your audience, people that, you know, as you say, you can signal that you want more or see more things like this by minting a ridiculous meme or something else and sort of opt in. But like Paragraph is doing amazing things, and it's like how things ripple out from mint on Paragraph, put it on Blockbuster, maybe there's an NFT embedded in there, you can go trending on mint.fun, or, you know, maybe before that you show up on Coinbase wallet and then you're trending on mint.fun. Like, I guess it's like the dark arts of like media distribution and stuff that's always been around. Maybe it was boosting Facebook ads in the past, but now it's like, it's all this kind of stuff, you know, and another reason why, you know, Paragraph is so interesting.
Yeah, I've always believed, you know, I kind of alluded to this before, but building on top of permissionless protocols and primitives like NFTs, like Arweave for decentralized storage, like Farcaster for, you know, maybe bootstrapping some of the network effects, I think really lend itself to just more eyeballs on content, right? And more subscriptions to creators on Paragraph and beyond. You know, I think one great example is the Farcaster frame that we launched, like the subscribe frame. So any, you know, share a Paragraph URL on Farcaster turns into a frame. People would be able to one-click subscribe. They'd be able to receive, you know, emails in their inbox and then potentially notifications via XMTP directly to their wallet as a result of that. And then they could also mint the post, right? They could also read the entire post in line. So I just think building on top of these primitives, you know, really just opens the door not only for distribution, but just increased engagement, you know, unique forms of monetization overall across the ecosystem. And, you know, going back to kind of Arweave, what I was alluding to before, but I just came from the hackathon earlier. There's a handful of people building, you know, discovery layers on top of both the joint Mir and Paragraph Arweave. So I mean, that's just simply not possible on sort of traditional Web 2 platforms as a result of maybe not everything's exposed via RSS. There's just simply no APIs for discovery or anything like that. So again, this is just increased distribution, you know, for creators overall. If they start providing their own mechanisms of discovery, their own kind of layers of presenting the content. In a similar way, I think that a bunch of clients are built on top of Farcaster. I do think at some point there's going to be a bunch of clients built on top of all these other types of data stores, including Arweave. I think we're already kind of starting to see this with like Interface, with Yup, with Firefly is a new one, etc.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So like, I guess most of us here on stage are like creatives or whatever, making stuff to broadcast or write something or put it out and so on. But it's like the other side of that, how's that showing up? I've thought for a long time this sort of collective curation or discovery piece of all this is super crucial and interesting to think about. As I said, like interface and surreal and various of these things that now sort of make it navigatable. It's like, how are we thinking about collective discovery among the many people who are doing stuff here? If it's just we're all, shouting out into the void on Zora and throwing our stuff up there and it's like in the mix on there, but like where's the layer on top? Like how do we kind of make sense of this stuff overall? I'd like to throw out to everyone, whoever would like to jump on this, is like, it feels like we're painting a bit of a rosy picture. Like it's an amazing creative time. There's all this new technology to play with, super interesting, which is all true. But like, what kind of overarching challenges to this movement are also present? Do you know what I mean? Like, anything we're struggling with, or we're all good?
Yeah, I'm struggling with a lot of things. It's super annoying having to cross post on all the things that are interesting to people. And I love Yup, but even that, it's like, it's just there's so many things. So I'd say that is one. I'd say also things that you think are very mintable and very collectible moments, or like collaborative commemorative moments, sometimes just really don't land. And then that's like immutably on chain, people seeing you flop on your face, which is a little awkward sometimes. For example, a little bit of my Grinch lore didn't perform so well. Now I have to like look at it on Zora every time I open Zora.
Yeah, you can update the metadata.
Yeah, I learned this yesterday.
Yes.
It's not actually immutable. You can update
Yeah,
it.
it's not that immutable, so I guess.
That's incredible. I honestly though, I think that we need more falling on our face content, like truly. And I think that's the content that I actually love the most. And like, this is so fucking niche, and like literally no one is gonna get this, but I think this is really funny, and I wanna I wanna have that in my history, even if no one else does. I'm like, I don't care. But I think actually another answer to this question on the distribution problem, because I'm with you, Cheryl. It's like totally bananas to like, oh, we're just gonna low key announce something like, oh, great, awesome. Like now I have to have like a 30-page PhD with like includes like a Discord strategy, an Instagram strategy, lens, Warpcast. It's like unbelievable. But we do it. But yeah, I think what this actually has to do with is like really understanding who your core audience is, and like at FWB, we have our two core audiences are actually, in my opinion, in opposition to one another, which is an interesting strategy, right? So like, if I think about, right now the spectrum is a linear one, but I think it's probably more of a circular one if I really think about it. But on one end, you've got like niche cultural producers, scene kids who are fundamentally concerned with subverting trends and remaining niche, right? And then on the other side, we have an audience archetype that is like our founders, like a lot of people in this room actually, who are actually very concerned with growth and very concerned with trend hacking as a result of that, right? And so these two like archetypes are constant. The duality is there. Like it's a constant, very sexual tension in our marketing around this, and with like truly. And so I think about like, okay, so who am I speaking to on Lens? Who am I speaking to on Workcast? Who am I speaking to on Instagram? And it's actually all pretty different. Like there is some overlap. So do we need like an omni distribution? Like, I don't know. Then that's just like another piece of commodity infrastructure. It's just another Facebook, right? So yeah, it's a little bananas to have all of these little micro distribution networks. But I think actually, even if quantify like the quantity of people on there, like, DAUs or whatever are just like super low, like what is the quality of that community, and does it make sense for you, right? Like, and maybe it makes sense to like really push a certain feature in one community or a certain campaign in another community and like do it less so or position it differently. And that just like all requires finesse. And like, yeah, truly, which like, yeah, very, very few of us have. But it's like, yeah, it requires finesse and also just like a deep understanding of who your audience is.
Yeah.
Are we struggling with anything? Yes. Yes, we are struggling. Echo everyone's points about distribution. I think, distribution, discoverability, it's still we're just very, very early. The user base is still very, very small. Growth, I think, is at the top of everyone's minds. At the same time, like kind of passing aside like, oh, I need to cross-post on every single thing and try to let people know about the synchronous event that is happening that people need to carve out time on their calendars for. I think what we found is that at the end of the day, like content is what matters. Like if you have compelling enough content, people will show up, people will spend money, and they'll have a great time on it. And they're like not looking at transaction fees at all. Like on our most recent show with Love on Leverage, there's $500,000 in trading volume in 5 episodes. And I think like stuff like that is really crazy to see. And that's when you have those moments of feeling like you have like an experience of PMF, but you have to keep that sustained. And I think that is kind of like the grind that we're all probably still on.
Yeah, following on that as well, I'm curious about like how you guys are approaching like onboarding more and more creatives. Like what does that look like? If I guess you could say, you know, you're like an alternate stream to whatever the default live stream thing is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's a new product. So how are you kind of like connecting with people? And I guess to what extent are you like curating the types of creatives that you'd like to bring in, or is it super open and
well,
random things happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. We just went permissionless in terms of like anyone in this room with a wallet. You don't even need to have a wallet because we're integrated with Privy, so you could just log in with email, create a channel. So that launched, I think, about a month ago. Prior to that, for the previous year, I was manually creating a channel for every person that wanted to stream on Unlonely. So thank fucking God I don't need to do that anymore. That was like a large portion of my job. But that does mean that, yeah, we're not curating who is coming onto the platform and what they're streaming. There maybe is more edgy stuff that is coming on. And like community guidelines or kind of content guidelines is something we've talked a little bit about, but at the end of the day, we're also like, this is a new world of media. We don't want to be like centralized platforms. Like, you know, Twitch recently has banned a bunch of different content. Streamers that were making a lot of money on the platform are now just shut out of luck. Like they probably have to go to OnlyFans or they have to go somewhere else. So I think we're really open to all of that content living on Unlonely, and we're very focused on monetizing because I think the crypto LTV, the kind of like customer in crypto, is just much more willing to pay than your average Web2 social media user.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So something for yourselves and also for Paragraph, I imagine as well. This is like you're there with the potential for the content, content moderation kind of issue. Just like, and how do you approach that? How do you not
give that one to Colin?
So I've taken inspiration from Farcaster in this scenario, and Warpcast in particular. I believe in like the kind of client approach where, Paragraph, like people can select to choose on Arweave. They're not forced to. In all circumstances, we store it in our database. It's a centralized database. Arweave enables permissionless distribution and all the other stuff that I mentioned before. But, if people publish on Arweave, then all the other clients can consume it and do whatever they'd like with it. But Paragraph, I'm kind of viewing us as sort of a single client that's built upon sort of this broader permissionless data store, just as Warpcast is a client built on top of Farcaster. So that's kind of the pragmatic approach that I've been envisioning, at least.
Yeah, cool. That's interesting, actually. We're dialing into. We're gonna have a bit of Q&A in a bit, so you guys are all gonna have the opportunity to like throw some stuff out. But we did have like another note, a question in general, like how do you guys feel about effectively like building media that lasts and long-lasting versus the kind of spammy and really ephemeral type of stuff? Like, are we just like with amnesia constantly, and it's always something new and fresh, and it's always the new and novel versus the doing a quality piece of work that takes 4 months to produce, and it's a whole other thing, you know? Like, and I guess from the lens of for FWB and for C Club and organizations like that to kind of have this. What would you say? Is that luxury media? Not quite, but the kind of the high quality pieces that can kind of stand for years. You know?
I mean, I'm actually going to use you as a use case. I mean, what was it? What was the thing that you mentioned on Zora, the Grinch thing? Yeah. Yeah. Like I love that. Like let's like no, truly. Like we need. Like sure. Like I think we have to lose the what is also the other thing you say? Preciousness of block space. Yeah. Wait. Can you say it?
Preciousness.
Say the quote, babe. What is it?
We have to stop being so precious about block space.
Yes, exactly. Stop being so precious about fucking block space.
Preciousness.
Yeah, truly, just preciousness. No, just, yeah. No, and the reason for that is like, because then you wouldn't ship anything, you know what I mean? It's just like, you just wouldn't ship anything. And actually, yes, quality of the content is really critical, but also consistency, right?
Absolutely.
Like we, me and Izzy, FW's CRO, sitting right there, we were just like surfing the internet. I don't know. So we were just like sitting together surfing the internet, and we ended up on waitbutwhy.com, which is like, does anyone know waitbutwhy.com? Yeah. Okay. Everyone knows the secret. Like, I don't know why none of you are talking about it, but it's been around for like. We ended up on like a page from 2013, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, thank you that this is here, even though this is internet garbage in some ways. Like, I'm very glad to have found it. And it's like a foundational cultural text now. And like, let's like, so anyway, I use one of the memes from that page for our FWB post about Fest, because we have a big announcement coming up on Tuesday. So turn your notifications on. And yeah, so I think actually like, yeah, let's not be precious about block space. Let's just like put weird stuff on chain and like, yeah. Let it live on as culture.
Yeah, still open for anyone who likes it.
Yeah, I don't think we're thinking about, at least this is not a thought in my mind, of like how to create media that lasts, but I think we are thinking about how to create brands that last. I think the media is more ephemeral, and the goal and the KPI is like, is this a vibe, and does this capture attention, and does this also memorialize a portion of time in which we were talking about this thing. Like Josh coining the phrase scene coin was something we wanted to put on chain, because that's a mimetic moment that is pretty legendary for our little king over here. But at least like within Joy and C Club, the content only captures attention for a few days at most, and then people move on and people turn that meta into something else. But in terms of creating a brand and a scene that lasts, that's much more of something that's interesting to us.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, I guess a lot of us have been talking about stuff this week around like a collective like hire or various of these things that are now forming. So like, I guess Enjoy has like tipping on Zora, that's another thing. So there's all these different ways to engage. But yes, I have a piece here that's talking about collectives and like the releases that are now possible, right? So like someone can come in, jam with a given thing and ship their own things. And so it's sort of like, I don't know, opening up the lens or the way the network's actually activating and things like that, which feels like fairly novel compared to some of these other things that we've been talking about. Anyway, consider that a local hire. Check into that if you like, it's fine. But there was another thing I was going to ask. Another thing, quickly, and we're almost out, and then we'll do Q&As and things, but this notion of like bringing on-chain culture into the physical world through events and happenings where we are right now with the Seed Club and Archetype, but you briefly noted FWB Fest, or like something like this, FarCon, with people coming from around the world to come and hang out about this very niche tech and geeky thing, but like, yeah, like propagating from the mimetic and digital and tokenized world into like physical gatherings, and it becomes more like culture or a part of like the world of things. Like, where do you see where we're at? And maybe we can touch on FWB Fest around that as well.
Well, at least with this event in particular, it kind of stemmed from how do we turn the channel Consumer Crypto on Farcaster into a real life gathering. So Peace's logo for Consumer Crypto is free Wi-Fi, which is why this event is called free Wi-Fi. And we wanted it to feel similar to the ethos of that channel, which is like very emergent, participatory conversations. Anyone can come, join, say something, engage in conversation. So that's why a lot of our workshops are very emergent. And I feel like in a way we brought to life a little bit of the Farcaster energy today, in a way that feels different from other conferences. I've never been to Fest, so I can't speak to that. I'm sorry.
My God. We're changing that right now. like literally. Yeah, I think I'm just going to quickly give a shout out to SIC. I mean, Jose was both on chain and on panel 2 hours ago. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just say that like Fest, the intersection of on-chain digital communities, IRL activations, culture, Fest is just like a distribution channel. So just come. It's like Angel Tech. It's like the next. It's just like it's like where, yeah. It's where like there's thoughts. There's things actually being created. There's culture being made. There's like there's critique. And I just like you really can only get that from being in person and from coming to Fest also. But yeah, we're announcing our music lineup on Tuesday. Super fucking stoked. And we'll be announcing our programming and our speakers. Speaker list is also insane. And all of our community partnerships and brand activations that'll be coming in the next couple weeks. Big announcements. Like, can't wait to share.
All right. Stay tuned. Yes. So I'm thinking now we can like switch gears to the Q&A phase thing if people want to throw stuff. But before we do that, maybe a little round of applause for our